let's talk about years or decades without meaningful interaction with women, because that's what prison is for most men who go in. So you think about it, there are women who work there. There are women who are officers or who are counselors or who are kitchen supervisors, but they have a really clear boundary, right? The officer can tell you to go to your cell or that you need to get your mail, but they can't say, hey, how are you doing today? Man, I heard something really bad happen. Like, what do you need? The counselor can tell you, okay, you need to do X, Y, and Z for your annual review, and the counselor's the person who they're going to call over to tell you that, your child has died or your father has died or this has happened, but they're not allowed to have a personal conversation with you because that's considered fraternization. So what we've done is created a world in which the men in prison start to feel isolated. A number of guys described saying basically they didn't feel like they were the same species as women anymore. Like they don't understand women. And this is with a lot of people coming in that don't have the healthiest ideas of relationship between men and women, a lot of misogyny, a lot of problems to begin with, and a system that's only making it worse. So when someone begins to objectify women because they're not able to relate to them, they're not able to empathize with them because there's no meaningful communication, what they have is what's essentially leading to predatory behavior. Whether that's predatory in a criminal sense or that's just predatory in a very unhealthy, destructive societal sense, either way, there's a problem there. Because the only way two people can really be in relationship is when they see each other as equals. And prisoners are told day after day after day by the situation that they're in that they are essentially equal to men, but they are not equal to women. It's not saying whether they're better or worse, just that they are not equal. So by having the system set up, you end up with this mindset that I had in the beginning. Okay, I remember at one point beginning to realize that I was objectifying women, that I was like looking at pornography and I was just like, oh, and I saw women as a means to an end. Like I want sexual gratification, or I want intimacy, or I want touch, or I want conversation even. I wanted these things, but I wasn't actually able to build relationships because I was in this kind of fantasy world. I was trapped in that same place that so many people who are addicted to pornography, that place that we go that isn't real because it's better than real, or so we think. So I realized this and I was really conscious about it. And I had amazing friends and amazing support and amazing opportunities. It's like while I was inside, if I had porn to look at, I would try to look at the most realistic porn. If you had like the one over here, which is big fake boobs and the big whatever, no, I wanted to look at like the whatever, the amateur, the normal. I wanted to have realistic expectations, and I also wanted to have no unrealistic idea of what a relationship could be. So obviously porn isn't where I get my idea of a relationship, but it's just a basic tenet. Because when we have this idea that relationships are transactional, like you do this and I do this, that's not intimacy, that's not love, that's not anything. But again, I had that opportunity. I had friends and family and people come see me, and I had people that would come and hug me. I had women who would come and hug me. I had the opportunity to have long distance relationships. And let me tell you, if you've never been in that situation, to have someone, even completely devoid of a sexual sense, have a woman come in and want to hug you and want to touch you and want to like connect with you in a meaningful way is the most meaningful thing there is. It's like an island in the middle of the sea, or it's like an oasis in the middle of the desert. It's something that I don't even know how to describe. So I had that opportunity because I was really lucky, because in all these situations, I had friends, I had support, I had resources that most people don't have. So I was able to recognize, hey, like I'm beginning to objectify women. If I want to have a happy life and a happy relationship and be a decent human being, like I need to address this. I need to have conversations. I need to come to a greater understanding of what it is to be a woman, or what a woman's experience is, or to empathize greater in more ways. And I was, again, very fortunate to have that opportunity, but most didn't. So what you have is a lot of people getting out of prison that are continuing to objectify women, who are walking up and literally like offering women money for sex right after they get out the gate, because in their mind, that's what they think it is. This is a transactional relationship. It's really unfortunate. So I was also able to have long distance relationships, which were probably the biggest like stepping stone in my life, because as an adult, as a mature, adult, I feel really competent. But after all those years in prison, as soon as I get into relationship, I'm still pretty unstable. I'm still pretty immature. I'm still pretty much a 16-year-old kid, but I have a much better foundation than most people because I was able to have those relationships. And when you have a long distance relationship, what that allows you to do is really think and really consider, because you're not just having sex, or you're not just hanging out, you're actually thinking and talking about things, because that's all there is to do. You've taken the physical out of the equation, so you have the opportunity to build a real connection. And what that requires first is you get a better understanding of yourself, because what I've realized is that most people don't know themselves. Don't know what they want or what they value, or don't know where they want to go in their lives. And that's how I was. I'd never stopped to examine. I was like, I like this or I like that, but I never really got any thought. I never really sat with my feelings or sat with my experience. Feel or think or like, but to have to put that into words, which makes it more comprehensible or makes it more easy to exchange with another person. And when you think about that, and you've done this in both ways, you built a relationship that is far deeper and far more meaningful than most people are, even living together today, who just happen to hook up and kind of like each other, and he likes her cooking or whatever stereotypical thing. The reality is that the foundation is weak. And if we want to have a strong foundation, we have to start at the base. We have to start with who we are, how we fit together, what we like together, what we like separately, like where we can find this common ground, and where we can also support each other in being our own person. And that's one of the things I have with Courtney that I've never had before, is I have somebody who is, even when it has been, you could say, to her detriment or to her not personal interest, she said, I want you to have this. Like, I want you to have this opportunity. I want you to have this experience. Hey, you need to go do this. I'm going to miss you, but I think this is important. She has continually been willing to put my needs ahead of her desire for what she wants me to do. So it's not saying that she's put my needs ahead of hers, because that's not healthy. But she said, hey, this is what I want for you, but I want what you want. Like, I want you to find what's best for you. And I've never had that kind of support in a relationship. I didn't even know it was possible. And I'm realizing that, again, I have to do the same thing. So a lot of times, like, I want to have Courtney home at night, or I want to do this, but I'm realizing that it's as important for me to support her in what she wants to do. When she wants to go out to do something and I'd rather hang out, well, you know what? Sometimes I got to go with her. Like, sometimes that's the thing to do, because I'm not supporting just what I want. I'm supporting what is going to make her happy in the relationship, that is not going counter to my needs, but may not be what I want in the moment. And I think it's a really, really important distinction, because, again, I'm not saying I need this and you're not giving it to me, but that's okay. I'm saying, okay, like, this is how we meet our needs. We support each other and who we are together. We also support who each person is apart, because that is a real relationship. But again, I got this because I had this contact and this intimacy and this opportunity in prison, where most people get out more regressed or more kind of immature emotionally than they go in. And maybe not with men, like, we actually have like really mature discussions, and cell partners can get along, and conflict can be de-escalated. But again, when it comes to a relationship with women, that is incredibly, incredibly stunted. And it's so unfortunate, because we know this. Like, we know about the number of people that get out and commit incredibly stupid crimes, like walking up to a random woman and offering her money for sex, which she then reports to the police, which is a violation of his parole. This is not a person who necessarily is a bad person. This is not a person who's necessarily like the greatest person. But again, he doesn't have coping tools for the most basic human interaction. Because we've been like, you've been in this place for all this time. Like, we're not going to teach you how to talk to women. We're not going to teach you about respect and boundaries. As a matter of fact, we don't teach anybody this. We don't talk about this in schools. We're like, this belongs in the family. Well, that sounds really great, except when you think about the incident in which people's boundaries are not respected, are just overrun and are trampled, we're clearly not doing a good job, because for some weird reason, we're afraid to talk about it. We're afraid to talk about consent. We're afraid to talk about like appropriate and inappropriate ways to communicate. We're afraid to talk about objectification and misogyny and these topics that should be taught at every school or should be taught in every family. But as you well know, there's not always a healthy family there. There's not always the support. Forget the kids who grew up in foster care, which are a separate case altogether. A lot of the people I know, the abuse that they went through and the most like kind of problematic, traumatic experiences they had were at home. So for people who say they need to learn that in the home, it's like, I don't think you understand. Like, I don't think you're able to step outside of your own shoes to recognize that not everyone has the same experience and the same opportunities, the same support as you, which is okay. I mean, it's unfortunate, but it's okay, because eventually we will learn, or we'll just kind of remain with our blinders on. But so I think an important component of prison needs to be teaching people how to be in relationship, how to be friends with other men, how to be in romantic relationships with women or whoever they choose, how to understand boundaries, how to understand communication. Again, these basic soft skills that most people in the world suck at. And I don't understand why we're not doing it. Like, I don't understand why we're basically saying, once again, that it is okay to take people who are unable to function in society and lock them in a building with a bunch of other people who are unable to function in society, and then let them out and wonder why they do, really unreasonable things or really unhealthy things, or why they commit another crime. Because we have not realized the kind of humanity that's required, the simple decency that's required, and the fact that this is about education. Because again, we have these scales of justice, and we're like, well, he did something wrong, so we need to punish him. Well, no. Wait. Like, I get that. Like, that's a knee-jerk reaction. I think we all feel that way sometimes, especially if we're hurt. But if he did something wrong, shouldn't he be working to make that better? And while we're working to make that better, to pay that money back or to heal that wound or whatever it is, shouldn't we be working to make him better? Shouldn't we be balancing the scales so that he won't do this again? So this person is better prepared the next time that he's out in the world, because 95% of prisoners are getting out one day? But instead, we just punish, which just further throws the balance off, because now you've got a party that's been harmed that hasn't had that harm addressed in any way. Now you have a person who's been further harmed, and that hasn't been helping in any way, and then he's more likely to reoffend when he gets out, because again, we haven't focused on the human experience and the human element, and instead we've just focused on punishment. And this is what it's gotten us.